C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
I had fun, man. Just out, the guys joking. We working at the same time. Putting the work in as a team. Like I said, I'm just glad to be with the guys.
My favorite night of the week.
We're gonna go out there and we're playing to win. We're not out here just to show up. We're out here to win.
I don't want guys that want to win, because really, who doesn't? Nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. I want players that hate to lose.
This embodies everything that we are as a team, as an organization. Our motto is keep pounding. That's what we do. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, what's the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. I'm here tonight with two of my favorite peeps, Mel Mayock and Joe Riolano, that freaking Puerto Rican. Joey, how are you, my friend?
I am doing so good, Tony. It is Tuesday, and we are here to talk about our Panther and some of the shaking and baking that's been going on. I can't wait to get it started.
Mel Mayock in the house. I feel like you're like a regular part of this podcast again.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks in a row this time, right? So that's good to be here.
Maybe I shouldn't have said anything, because probably afterwards you're gonna be like, "Sorry, dude."
Oh yeah, about next week.
I've got WrestleMania to watch.
Not on Tuesday night, brother. That's on a Sunday.
All right, guys. We're here to talk some Panthers football. We're gonna look. There's a lot of people watching now. We appreciate you guys in the chat room. Each and every one of you. We're on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube. We're on Periscope, and you can follow us on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. But what I need you to do right now is smash that thumbs up button, whether you're on Facebook, wherever you're at, and share this broadcast. And be sure to subscribe, especially on YouTube. We're closing. We're slowly closing to that 1,000 mark. We've got to get to, and I want to get to it by the draft party. Like, I feel like we should celebrate the draft party with 1,000 subscribers, and we've got about 178 to go. So you all get to sharing, get subscribing, and send this podcast to a friend. That's the way you grow in today's internet. If you ain't got the backing of some big company, is one person, one podcast, one subscribe at a time. So we appreciate you and all of you that donate to the show. All of that information can be found in the show notes. Tonight's show, guys, is Feeling the Hurn, or is that athlete's foot? And this is episode 18.6 on the year. We are here every Tuesday night. And guys, this is our sixth. We're heading into our sixth season as a podcast. That's pretty impressive. Not missing a Tuesday, I don't think, a single time in that process. Not many for sure. And if they were early on. Guys, we're here to talk about free agency and some things that have happened, specifically the signing. Since we have talked, I don't know if Donte Poe was in the mix during the last show. But we've signed Donte Poe. That's a cannonball of a splash of free agency. We signed Jarius Wright, and Bashaud Breeland was arranged to become a Panther. Now that deal has fallen through. So let's start with Breeland really quickly. And Bashaud Breeland was the first free agent pickup that the Carolina Panthers identified and pursued quickly. They arranged a deal that seemed really happy, made everyone happy. It seemed that Breeland was a big part of the Carolina Panthers offseason plan, but then things went quiet. Not a lot of news surrounding the Breeland signing in the following days, and some of those Twitter followers, they start asking, hey, what's the word on the Breeland contract? What's the word on the Breeland contract? You saw these right moments before it felt like people started to feel something's up, and then news breaks that he has failed his physical because of some foot injury that occurred in the Dominican, and it was a non-football related injury. Obviously, he was on vacation, cut, and it got some sort of cut on his foot that then led to an infection. This led to him failing the physical and the deal falling through. this is a big hit to the Carolina Panthers and that offseason. Mel, how does this foil the plan, and what's your response to this?
Oh, it was a blow, man, because, I mean, it was a great signing because the philosophy in free agency is to fill your needs so that you can go after the best player available in the draft and not have to reach. As you remember, Gettleman went for 3 cornerbacks back to back a few years ago because we had to, because we needed bodies. And after the Breeland signing, it looked like, hey, we've got that need covered. We can check that box. Now, a lot of the other good corners are signed. We're down to the bottom of the heap. We're going to have to get one early. We're going to have to, unless my theory is we'll end up signing Breeland again when he's able to pass
that door.
Well, as Joey said, though, is that from what I've heard and what most people are indicating is that door has shut, and that Breeland was upset that the deal was torn up, and that this is kind of where our paths will now separate.
I heard conflicting reports on that, though. I heard reports that there's a little bit of mistrust there, but you cannot sign somebody if they don't pass a physical. So it's still in play, and they're still talking. That's what I've heard.
Can I chime in on this?
Please.
Well, this is what I heard today on the radio. That Breeland was on vacation. His foot got ran over by a golf cart. I imagine people were horsing around, and, it's not any fun until somebody pokes an eye out. And that's what happened here. The foot got run over, and it got infected. He went, talked to the Panthers, and was like, oh, yeah, I got a little cut on my foot, no big deal. From what I understand, the Panthers seemed to feel like he was purposely trying to mislead them, trying to make them think it's something less than what it really was.
Well, of course he was.
Right, he wanted that payday.
He had 10 million reasons to.
That was a $24 million cut.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And it's going to take up to 3 months for that thing to heal right. It's that kind of an infection.
What kind of golf cart did he get run over by? Was that like a Mario Kart, like Wario?
Have you ever been to the Dominican Republic?
Have you ever? No, I haven't been to the Dominican Republic. So their term for golf cart is probably like an old stripped down Volkswagen. Is what you're saying?
1970s version, yeah.
Yeah. 4x4. No. Whatever it was, he got his foot cut and it got infected. And I think that's the kicker. The Panthers were probably pissed because they felt like, he's saying it's not a big deal, no big deal. And they go and he gets a physical and, his white blood cell count's probably through the roof, which is an indicator of, you got some type of thing going on. And then they say, well, let's take a look at your foot, and it's got gangrene.
Damn! Damn! Put your shoe back on, quick!
Right. He's like, no, it's no big deal. It's worse. It's not as bad as it looks. And they're like, you're right, dude. Your foot is actually black. And I know you're African American, but no, this foot is like ebony black. Like necrotic.
It actually looks like you brought back a piece of volcanic rock from the Dominican with you.
Exactly right.
And something really has to be wrong with that foot because we were not the only team interested in him. So if it were just the Panthers backing away and having buyer's remorse,
right? Somebody else would jump.
I mean, the Green Bay Packers had some serious interest in it.
Gosh, man, like you need to go to the doctor, bro, and be like, we got to get this healed right away. I need a fake foot to wrap around this foot. Something like, how they give you there's people use like the fake dongs to when they got to take a pee test. Like I would just put that fake foot on and be like
prosthetic foot.
Dude, if you have no feeling in your foot, yeah, I can run better that way. Nah, this poor guy. I feel really bad for him in some ways because it's just something. It's kind of. It also is just bad fortune a little bit that something like that can get so bad. Now, if he didn't treat it properly, if he didn't go to the doctor and his foot kept stanking and he just was like, I think that might say something about I don't want to. Maybe the sense. I want to say just. Oh, I'm just gonna come out and say intelligence. Like if your foot is about to fall off and you ain't been to the doctor and been on like a serious thing. You know, I can't believe that this was like he had a bad toenail and the Panthers like, nope, we got to get out of this.
Right. It wasn't bad because an infection you can treat with antibiotics, and in a week, 2 weeks, it's all gone. So they're talking about a 3-month treatment. I mean, this is a really bad infection.
Well, guys, if you remember when Mike Minter was on the team and he had
Joey brought this up a couple of days ago. I think this is a great point. Go ahead, Mel.
Mike Minter lost virtually an entire season and almost lost his career over he went in to have I think just a clean out done, and he ended up with a staph infection.
Right.
And he lost a ton of weight and just, I mean,
do you remember
really serious.
A couple of years ago, maybe more than a couple, maybe 10 years ago, the Buccaneers had a rash of MRSA going on.
Yeah.
And I think that, that's the fear. You get that bug in your locker room, and it gets into cut fingers and England toenails and that kind of thing, and you're in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
So, Mike Minter told me a lot about that on Where's That Cat Now episode.
You have no proof. You got no proof.
He did talk about that year, and it was, and he talked about how painful that was in that process. But I do think this is that, GMs go through, or everybody has certain things they go through in their life, and they kind of really define that the way they look at future events when they encounter them. And, so I'm sure that Dave Gettleman's going to have some feelings about what he did wrong in Carolina or what he did right that are really going to shape the way he, approaches New York. And likewise, Marty Hurney was around when that staph infection hit Mike Minter. And I'm not saying, I would just say this, is that if you've encountered someone that has struggled and run into that, it might make it more real to you. And so the doctor says, yeah, we can fix this, this, and that. But Hurney knows that maybe that this is some really serious crap. So not something to be messed around with lightly. So Breeland, though, really hurts because I felt like that was really setting us up, because then the real big news, literally big news, 345 pounds of big news. The Carolina Panthers signed Donte Poe and made their big splash into free agency. And guys, this was a bigger signing than I expected from the Panthers in the offseason in this free agency. It took me by surprise. And I'm going to tell you, I know a lot of people in the chat room have been hyped on this, but when I look around and I see Panther fans talking, I don't know if we know, or a lot of them appreciate just yet, how really big of an addition this is. Not just in lieu of losing Star and plugging replacement, is that you've upgraded over Star in a serious fashion. I think in a notable fashion in that way. So Donte Poe, to me, seals this offseason right now as really kind of a success in my eyes. Joey, kind of a surprise, sneak around. All the talk is on safety, wide receiver, and Hurney goes and targets a corner and then makes a big get with a defensive tackle. Were you surprised?
Yeah, I was surprised. It was kind of like he did it on the low.
You almost forgot that Poe was out there because he was overshadowed by what's his name getting cut.
Dominican Sue. Plus, he was only on he was on a 1-year deal in Atlanta, so I wasn't really thinking about him. I mean,
look, there was so much going on with the receivers. Where's this guy going to go? Where is the quarterback from the Redskins going to go? Where's the Eagles quarterback going? Where's Case Keenum? All this other stuff going on. And meanwhile, Marty Hurney's looking down the list and he says, whoa, Dontari Poe is a free agent and nobody's talking about it. Let me go hit up his agent, tell him we want to bring him in, get him a 3-year deal. He doesn't have to move far from Atlanta. We're just up the road. And this guy is a real gat. I mean, Hurns did a really
He's a
good
star,
job here,
actually. He's like he is a
better than a
premier.
star.
He's a premier player in the NFL that for some reason took a 1-year deal with Atlanta, and I guess there was that some people concerned about his weight. Because you remember last year he had to make that weight to get like an extra bonus with the team. Yeah. And then he came and dominated in Atlanta. I mean, Poe was a name 3 years ago that was as high of a name on the list as a KK Short to me. In their
he was
position.
Aaron Donald. Yeah, he was Aaron Donald a few years ago.
When he came out of college, and everybody was blown away by the job he did at the combine. I mean, he blew away everybody.
Yeah, I mean, he ran like a tight end 40 time.
Yes, this guy is a real get for Carolina. Our defensive line is now better than it was last year.
Moneybag said Poe Jangles.
Hey, I guarantee
and
you
Poe-berry biscuits. Boy, feed that boy some Poe.
Some of the fantasy football team names are going to be good this coming year. Throwing Poe into the mix.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Don't forget, we added our boy Julius Peppers back into the mix too.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that's big. So if a girl you like is a little on the thinner side and she needs a little extra, right? You can buy her some Poe-berry biscuits. That's what I'm saying. I think this is going to be. I think that people are sleeping on this. I think that first signing him to a 3-year deal. It's smart by him and even better for us because in 3 years, he's going to just be turning 30. You've got him arguably in the prime of his career. I think of like what a Vince Wilfork was like. This I felt like when Vince Wilfork was in his career was really settling into being just kind of a dominant, consistent player. And yeah,
that's a good comparison right there. That's a good comparison.
And so I think that what you're going to get is like when he's coming off of his deal with us, he's going to be kind of like what Wilfork was like when he went to Houston and get 2 more years. He's going to get 1 more contract maybe. That's impressive. But, $29 million, I think, for the next 3 years, that's a steal for locking up. Now we've got 2 defensive tackles. We've got Mario Addison for at least another year or 2. And you can go ahead and start now working. You got Peppers for another year. We're in good shape there. I think that Poe makes a bigger difference in this team than maybe adding somewhere else. How about this? I think Poe is a bigger deal than adding Paul Richardson.
No doubt.
On the offensive side.
Yeah, all right. I'm not overwhelmed by Paul Richardson.
No, me either. All right, so let's talk about this. We're going to jump into some offensive talk now, and the most recent news when it comes to the offense is that we have signed Jarius Wright to a 3-year deal with some incentives. Jarius Wright, former Minnesota Viking. Really a fan favorite among them, played under Norv Turner and found himself to be a somewhat productive receiver. A lot of people have made the comparison to Cotchery, but a younger version of what Cotchery was and what he could be like. Jarius Wright, another veteran added with Torrey Smith to kind of bulk up and round out this receiver group with a little bit more certainty than a little more provenness than just potential that we've got with some of those younger guys. Mel, where are you at on Jarius Wright's addition? How do you think he fits in Carolina? Is he going to be more than just a helper?
Yeah, I really think so. You bring somebody in who it's not their first year in the offense, right? I mean, you said it. You said it very well. You got a lot of guys that are yet to be proven. You know, guys like our boy Demir Bird and Curtis Samuel and other folks like that that have to prove themselves. These are guys that have been. I mean, Wright himself's been in the system, so he knows what Norv Turner is going to be saying. He's going to be able to teach that to the other folks. But also, if you go read what Viking fans have to say in chat rooms, they were really saying, you know, Bird or Wright, excuse me, is actually the guy that we look for on third down. He was known as Mr. Third Down. And that's a key to a successful season, is being able to keep those chains moving and not getting knocked off the field. Getting folks off on third down, and then on offense, keeping the chains moving. And that's a specialty of his. So he is definitely going to be an important part of this offense this year.
Going back a little further in Carolina Panthers history, not that far, we had somebody that was really, really good at doing just that. Mr. Ricky Poe.
That's exactly right. I was just thinking that when you said that. Yeah.
Third down, a stick moving, if you will.
That's invaluable. I mean, that's not your elite wide receiver, but it's so important for somebody that just knows how to get open and to be that safety valve, kind of like Greg Olson typically is, but now you got another option to do it too.
That's right.
All right, so what we have here is, I think this is a legitimate concern, or at least comment that comes from Moneybags Lawson. He said, who? 29 catches in the last 2 years. It is going back to basically he's had no action in Minnesota since Norv Turner left. And
well, there is two really good reasons for that.
Maybe even three.
I mean, it's
right,
really
because you've got
Stephon
Diggs, you've got who's the kid who's also Thielen, and then you also got Treadwell that they drafted in the first round, I believe.
Yeah.
So they have a lot. So it is a crowded room, but I do think that this is a legitimate
valid point.
Valid point, right? And so
that's
question
why his contract was pretty low.
Yeah, the question is, who is he? And what I did is I went out and asked that to Nick Olson from Viking Territory, who is a senior writer for VikingTerritory.com. And he had, this is what I was just trying to figure out. What is Jarius Wright? What do we got here? Do we have anything at all? Here's what he had to say, folks. I'd like to welcome Nick Olson from Vikings Territory. He's a senior writer there, and we brought him onto the show today to talk about Jarius Wright. Thanks for joining the C3 podcast, Nick.
Absolutely, glad to be here.
So I was just looking at your bio a little bit, and I saw that you wrote Scandinavian family. So when you write Scandinavian family on your bio, that's some pretty proud heritage. What is that, Norwegian?
Yeah, that's Norwegian. That's where the Olson comes from. You know, it's very typical in Minnesota.
I hear you. I like that. Is that I've never, I'm from the South, so like you don't see many bios on Twitter that says Scandinavian family, proud of it, essentially.
Not so many Olsons in the Carolinas.
The only one we have is Greg Olson. He's pretty awesome tight end, but he spells his with an E. But here, look, we're here to talk football. You write for Vikings Territory. And
sure.
I tracked you down because you had some complimentary things to say about Jarius Wright. And really, from an outsider, where Carolina Panther fans are at is that free agency is always disappointing to the fan. We never make the splash that we need to make. And right now, the kind of narrative is just this. This is the move we make. So tell us why you like Jarius Wright, because that's the impression I got.
Yeah, Wright's a great receiver, and he's a kind of a fun favorite. He had a fan nickname, Mr. Third Down, because it felt like all his catches came for big yardage, converting third downs. He's a fast, quick receiver with 4.4 speed. Norv Turner is very familiar with him from his time in Minnesota in 2014, 15, 16, and he loved using Wright either as a flanker in vertical routes or especially on crossing routes. We ran a lot of mesh concepts, or Norv would run these concepts where he'd run all the receivers downfield, and then Wright would run a crossing route underneath, and then you'd deliver the ball to him and he'd pick up a bunch of yards. So I think Norv's going to be able to use him in those same ways, you know, as a flanker running vertical routes with Cam Newton, obviously a very talented deep passer, but also underneath in the slot. He's a good catcher, makes tough contested catches, doesn't drop the ball, can hold on to it in traffic, very quick, very explosive off the line. So he brings a lot of things. He's not, you know, your X, your split end, but you've already got Devin Funchess, so I think he's a very perfect complementary receiver. And I think that's why when Norb saw him hit the free agency, y'all went and got a deal, drafted up and got him, scooped him up real fast. So I think it's a perfect fit.
Yeah, it does seem that we did make it a priority and we acted quickly on him. And you talked about that experience with Norv Turner. Can you kind of tell me maybe where, you know, Norv Turner had a kind of funny exit from Minnesota, but it didn't seem because of necessarily a lack of success while you guys were there. I mean, I felt like he left a team that was 5-2 and then went 8-8. You guys finished 8-8 that year or something to that effect.
Yeah.
You know, how is Norv Turner's offense? You know, was it Norv Turner that was the issue? What was going on, and maybe how can he bring that with Jarius Wright to the Carolina Panthers?
Norm's an interesting offensive coordinator. I personally don't think he was a reason for the lack of success in 2016. I think that was largely due to just how badly injured the team was. I think by the end of the season we were picking off offensive tackles off the street. We had 5 different guys go on IR or the NFI list on the line, and then another 5 guys missed time. So it was just bad. And Norm's not an inflexible offensive coordinator, kind of like Shula. He's more creative than people give him credit for, but he does like to he relies a lot on those deep play action, vertical Air Coryell offense. That's the thing he keeps coming back to. And when you've got, you know, backup offensive tackles that you picked up off the street, you're kind of asking a lot of them to do a 7-step play action drop back with guys who can't really pass protect that well. So that was kind of an issue. And then I think with the Vikings, we just saw Pat Shurmur maybe as somebody who was more willing to mold the offense to Teddy Bridgewater or Sam Bradford's strengths. So I think that there was kind of it felt like there was a personality clash. But no, Norv Turner's obviously he's been with some very successful teams. He's a good coach. Just maybe not the type of offensive design that we needed at the time.
Back to that, just when it comes from me, when I was looking, I'm not a Sam Bradford fan. Like I just don't think that he has ever lived up to any of the hype and I understand and we'll notice that a lot of it has had to do with injury and situation. But does that kind of incompatibility with Norv Turner and maybe Sam Bradford's game, does that show that like Sam Bradford just his strength isn't the downfield passing game, like the deep ball, but more in being a high completion rate, maybe a West Coast style offense?
I'm not sure. I mean, Sam's a guy who's always been exceptionally accurate to every level of the field. Problem with him is just availability. And in 2016, you know, Bradford, when he had time, he was extremely accurate downfield. And you saw that towards the beginning of the season while the offensive line was still healthy. But as the line got more and more injured, there just wasn't enough time to let those kinds of plays develop. So that's going to be I think for Carolina, the most important thing is Cam going to have enough time to let those downfield routes develop?
Yeah, that's been a huge problem with us when we had Mike Shula too. So a lot of people believe we're kind of just trading out, one wife for another wife that has a lot of the same characteristics. Back to Jarius Wright, just real quick, is that a lot of people have made the comparison between maybe him or even Torrey Smith that we have gotten as doing what Jericho Cotchery did in 2015 for us. Brings sort of a veteran presence, not necessarily the number one world beater wide receiver, but a guy who's reliable and consistent. What other things can Jarius Wright just other than kind of fitting into North Turner and being consistent? Do you see him contributing? Could he be a team leader? Can he help coach up young people? And does he have the ability to be a number 2 starting receiver in the league?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Wright's a fan favorite. Everybody loves him. I mean, it helps when you're always the guy. You're the go-to target on third down. But he's loved around the locker room as well. He's a good guy. He works hard. You could use him kind of outside as the flanker receiver, although with Torrey Smith, maybe he'll take that role more, and then Jay Wright is the guy in the slot. You know, he'll catch tough catches. He can offer a lot of things to the team on the field and off the field.
All right, fantastic. All right, what are you guys working on Vikings territory right now, so our listeners can go check it out?
Yeah, well, right now I got a piece on Kirk Cousins. It's kind of a very big deep dive. So if anybody's interested in 200 GIFs on Kirk Cousins' 2017 season, you can dive right in there. Got an article on Sheldon Richardson coming up. He's a 3-technique we just signed, and Panthers fans know just how important having a penetrating 3-tech, how important that can be for your defensive line and defense. So
are you guys all in on 2017? I mean 2018. It sounds like you guys are all in on 2018 as the year.
Yeah, it certainly seems like it with spending the big bucks for Sheldon Richardson and Kirk Cousins. That's a pretty big free agency spending spree for us. So looks like it. We'll see how it works out.
All right, if you get to run into Linville Joseph, tell him that this ECU Pirate fan said you're the best Pirate, even better than Chris Johnson that's ever come out of East Carolina University.
Wow. All right. I'll be sure to tell him that. Right. Great. Appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, Nick. We appreciate it. You can follow Nick at Nicholas J. Olson, senior writer for Viking Territory. All right, guys. So that's Nick Olson from VikingTerritory.com. A couple of things is I felt like he had a lot of positive things to say about Wright. They were measured. You could tell that I feel like this guy, from talking to him and hear what he had to say about Sam Bradford, he's not too high, too low on anybody, which is a good sign that I think his analysis is probably tempered and realistic, and he seems to be indicating, I mean, he said he's a great receiver. And so I think at least that indicates he's a good football player. And we could use good football players at this moment, some guys that have been on the field, have that clutch gene. I think that's important. Joey, one of the things that they mentioned in the chat room, though, is that Wright could potentially be kind of a mentor to a Curtis Samuel in playing that kind of multiple role as a wide receiver. Mentor him along. Do you see that translating into the locker room a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. And not just him, but Torrey Smith as well. Torrey Smith has been in the league for a few years, been around the block. I think as much as these guys are going to add to the on-field ability of the Panthers, the influence they'll have in the locker room into molding this young receiver core into NFL professional receivers is going to be huge. Their impact in that locker room will be positive in such a big way. They'll be able to, show these guys how to look at film, how to, look at defenses, little subtle nuances that they picked up through their years in the NFL, and it'll just prove to be invaluable to these young guys. And a guy like Curtis Samuel, who's kind of been behind his whole time in Carolina, you know what I mean? He's been playing catch-up because of the injury and the time he's missed. He's really going to benefit from having Wright and Torrey Smith back there.
Yeah, definitely. Mel, one of the things that I think is really impressive about this offseason, and I think it's time for me, I want to clap a little bit about what Hurney's done, and partly because what he hasn't done. So when he signed Breeland, when he signed Poe, I thought all of a sudden, first I was excited by both. I would say that. But at the same time, he looks like, to me, he demonstrated a couple of things that I thought were cool. there was a slight sense of urgency to like really start righting the ship and getting it moved in a positive way. But neither moves seemed like they were placating to fan emotion. And that is, we need a wide receiver. We need a safety. We need you going to get a Sammy Watkins. We need you going to get and that kind of, these are hot names. These are good names. These are solid acquisitions he's made, but they haven't been, ones that lead the headlines on NFL.com or on ESPN. And I think that's a positive thing, because when we turn to now Jarius Wright and Torrey Smith, I think these seem to be rather wise signings. I can understand why people don't think that they are fantastic, that they're going to move the needle a ton, but I think that they move the needle about as much as adding potentially a Donte Moncrief, a Paul Richardson, for a lot less. They might not move it just as far or be able to get out on the highway and go just as fast as those guys, but I do think that they are somewhat proven guys that could contribute if needed. And I think that's a positive thing. I think there's more certainty. Do you feel the same way, Mel?
Well, I think another way to put it is the professor is feeling the Hurn.
Yeah.
Right?
I do. I think so. So.
Yep. So, no, I totally agree. I mean, he's made some very measured and wise moves thus far. And, like I said when this happened, somebody getting a second shot at a job comes in with a different perspective. And I just think it's worked out great so far. Let's see how we look throughout the coming year. Being on paper is one thing, but adapting and getting through the year is another. I'm excited. I'm optimistic, and I definitely feel the Hurn.
All right. The last thing, speaking of the Hurn, we do need to talk about a different Hurns. And that is Allen Hurns was released by the Jacksonville Jaguars 4 years ago. He signed, just over 2 years ago, he signed a 4-year deal, $40 million, coming off a 1,000-yard receiving season. Also the year, I believe, that Allen Robinson blew up as well.
Yeah, they decided to sign him. They made him a priority over Allen Robinson.
Well, because they had Allen Robinson as a rookie on his rookie contract for 2 more years, and then Robinson had a down year. Then he had an injured year. They have gone out and got Donte Moncrief. They are bringing in some other names, and I'm trying to think of. I know they've done some other things offensively that are escaping me at the moment. But
Marquise Lee, re-signed with them.
That's right. So is that now Allen Hurns is the newest name on the ever-expanding everyone is welcome list until we sign you, and that is you're a great fit in Carolina. So tell me, on this, you're a great fit in Carolina. That's just what we need until we sign them, and then the people that subscribe to that list will tell you this was not the move I wanted, but why is Allen Hurns the guy? I'll let you start, Mel.
Well, I'm not convinced that he is, though I would be excited about it. What I think he would do is really compete with Devin Funchess. And you got to remember, Devin is going into the final year of his contract. So, that competition breeds success, and it gives us options. So, I'm all for the competition of it, but that's starting to be a little bit of a crowded locker room. And is he going to be the elite receiver to push Devin Funchess' touches down? I'm not so sure that he fits opposite of Devin Funchess, because he's 6'3", so he's a similar size to
faster
Funchess.
Though, certainly faster.
Certainly faster, right? So I can't say that I've watched enough Allen Hurns film to be convinced it is a smart signing, and I certainly don't feel like we need to be desperate and just go throw a Brinks truck at it.
Right.
Joey, you know that if Jarius Wright is known as Mr. Third Down, I don't know if you guys know this, but Allen Hurns is known as Mr. London. And that he has caught 2 game-winning touchdowns in London to seal the deal, basically. So Yeah, I mean, so he's got a little clutch gene.
But we don't play in London this year.
He doesn't, but we could play next year, and on a 2-year deal, if you get one win out of a guy, that's got to be worth at least like $250,000, $500,000 in salary things. Joey, I think Hurns is a legitimate consideration, and I do think you have enough wiggle room, particularly with someone like Torrey Smith, if you did feel that he could give you more of a presence, and Jarius Wright could help you do some of those things that maybe that you were going to have Torrey Smith doing when he wasn't running those deep routes. Is that this is, you could save $5 million by cutting Torrey Smith with no love lost, no problems, I'm pretty sure. And you could do something like this. I do believe he would be a great compliment beside Funchess, though. And I think that he's tall like Funchess, but also like Funchess, he's more athletic he's not like the big fella like KB was. So, Funchess could be the larger of the two, and then Allen Hurns could be a legitimate solution as a number 2 option in Carolina. Joey, do you think he is something that the Panthers should kick the tires on, in your words?
I definitely think it's worth looking into.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I do see him more in the X role, kind of like what Mel's saying, as competition for Funchess. To bring him in would be a motivating factor for Funchess. He's going to really have to bring it this year. You know what I mean?
And you could trade. You could even consider trading Funchess at some point if you drafted Right.
You bring up a very interesting point. If he's there and we could work everything out, it would not hurt to bring him in. The one thing you do have to consider is which one or maybe two of the receivers you have on the roster now are going to go. It's safe to assume Burson would be one, but then who's the other guy?
Yeah, I think you could go into all right, so I do want to point out these stats when it comes to Allen Hurns is that in 2015 he had his big year. He had 64 catches for 1,031 yards and 10 touchdowns. That was a big year for him. In fact, that was a bigger year than Sammy Watkins had last year, and he got $16 million, right? In fact, all right, so then you get this. And that is too with Blake Bortles. Now, in his favor, he had 105 targets that year, so he had a ton. They were throwing the ball all day long. They couldn't run the ball. 2016, he started 11 games. He was targeted 76 times, had 35 catches for 477 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he missed 5 games, and he also missed 8. He started 8 games last year. He played in 10, it looks like, and he had 39 catches for 484 yards. Now, Hurns has had more production than pretty much any of the guys that we've brought in, Torrey Smith as well as Jarius Wright. Torrey Smith, though, kind of languished in San Francisco a little bit, and, his days of, like, Allen Hurns were a little bit farther back. So he has had some production in his career. Allen Hurns, though, is a guy that has had some success in this league pretty recently. He's 26 years old. I do think it would give you some flexibility to with Funchess a little bit, particularly if Funchess were to get hurt, or if you decided that you're not really interested in making Funchess a long-term number 2 and you wanted to try to start working on it through the draft. This could give you room to trade. So I think it's really an interesting potential addition. I don't want to be blown away by it, but we do have the potential money given the Breeland deal, given some other things. So going to this, your point, Joey, of who gets edged out. So let's go through the receivers if you added them, right? You got Funchess.
I don't think you should count Shepard.
All right, so Funchess, let's do this. Is Funchess number 1, number 2 being Torrey Smith, number 3 being Jarius Wright, number 4 being Who's
Samuel.
next? Curtis Samuel, right?
Yeah.
Number
Yeah.
5 potential is Demir Bird, right?
Yeah.
And nobody else right now. That's it.
Right.
So you could add Hurns in and all of a sudden go into camp with 6 people. And that's what you always do. You go in with 6 to 8 receiver. I mean,
Here's my thing, Professor. I think that's all valid points, but he's going to get paid. There's 10 teams that have called him, and tomorrow he's going to the Jets. So if we want him, we're going to have to pay $8, $9, $10 million. And for a guy that's going to be competing in a 6-man group that's not going to be blowing somebody away, I sure as heck hope we don't write an $8 million, $9 million a year contract for the guy. I just don't see it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think you're right.
yeah, I mean,
3, 4, 5 million. Yeah, 8. In my opinion.
oh, he ain't getting him
I
for
don't
no
know that-
$5 million. Nah, there's no way. He's 8. You'll be. I think 8's a deal.
Then
I
let
think
somebody-
if
I'll let
if
somebody
you
pay.
pay 10, look, is Donte Moncrief got 10,
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
but
That's
it is a
ridiculous.
1-year prove it deal, fully guaranteed. He's gonna make $10 million this year. If it doesn't work out, they move on. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, like at this point, I think that's where you're at. Let's see what the people in the chat room got. No way. I think this is actually more exciting to me than a Paul Richardson. This is more. I think he would be a better fit for us than a lot of the guys that we've thought about, but not going after an Allen. I mean, obviously Allen Robinson would be the greatest fit. You know what I mean? We get all that. So we'll see, but we're going to need like Samuel and them. They don't need to have their spot guaranteed at this moment. I mean, they do.
Personally, I take the 5 guys that we mentioned earlier. You pick up a rookie, that's your 6.
I know.
All right, I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm fine with that, but you're going to really have to make it a priority.
Yeah, it's got to be a top 2, top 3 pick.
All right. Joe, any last thoughts?
No, nothing. I think we pretty much covered everything.
All right, we got some more to talk about in these cat calls, which I was going to do earlier, and you know what? We get to talking, and again, just happens. So here we
What
go.
are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in the snow? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey guys, this is Maurice Carter calling out of Anger. I like DJ Moore from Maryland. I thought Cortland Sutton was excellent in the combine, but I know he won't be there. Ridley, if he's there, we definitely should think about getting him at 24. A little further down in the draft, how about Brandon Parker from A&T, a local product? As far as free agents are concerned, what about Adrian Peterson? I mean, he comes cheap. He was the best running back in the NFL before he blew out his knee. So, and then what about Shaq Griffin? I mean, Shaquem, he's awesome. Give him a shot. All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, guys. First, let's just go ahead and get the AP thing out of the way. Nope.
Not for me.
I was on AP last year. Like this is like let's see what he could do and this and that. And he looked like a dead person last year out there on the field. And I'm sorry, I like him, got no problem with him, but I'd rather take Chubb in the first and just say that's it. Moving on, next. You know what I'm saying? Long term, this guy, real deal. Time for the new blood. That's my feeling.
I totally agree. And, I felt like he was way past his prime last year. I was against us, kicking the tires last year, and I'm against it this year. But
great point on DJ Moore, though, to our earlier point, which is
DJ
this.
Moore, yeah.
If you do pass on Hurns, I mean, not pass on Hurns, but like if you were never really considering that as a potential, like this could be an option for us, like no way in heck ever, that means that you're really going to invest something, I would hope, in the draft. Like, you got to invest at some point, but you know, because it's going to take time. Like, there's not a first round pick in this that's going to come in and be the guy right from day one, I don't believe. So I think you are going to kind of invest in sort of a project player by default. You have to, or a guy that is certainly not going to be a day one starter. I don't see Calvin Ridley as necessarily a lock to be a day one starter. I don't see Cortland, the other guy, as a lock. I see they could have great careers. So if you do get like a DJ Moore, I think you're talking second, third round type player maybe that you're looking after. And, you know, if you invest that, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and let me touch on what he talked about the local, and I totally agree with you, and I like DJ Moore. You know, the comparisons are to Steve Smith, really, as far as his tenacity, which this team needs. We need an alpha male in there in the wide receiving core. You know, we've got Cam Newton, but we need that dog out there in wide receiver. But let me touch on the Brandon Parker, the local product that he brought up. That's a kind of a hidden gem there. I mean, this dude is big. He's 6'7", 315 pounds. I mean, and he's a big dude. He jumped over 10 feet on the broad jump at the combine. And he ran a 5.4 40, which is pretty good for 6'7", 315. And he's a left tackle, and he's projected to go in the middle rounds. So I mean, he's an A&T guy. You know, he's a little bit raw, but he's got the athleticism, they say, to play in the league at left tackle. So I think you need to develop.
How tall is he again?
6'7".
Is this the picture you sent me of the guy that looked like a dang Jolly Green Giant the other day?
No.
Somebody, did we claim somebody?
That was that guy from Indianapolis. He's
6'9".
60.
God. Yeah, he looks like a cartoon. Like, yeah, he kind of looks like that.
But this guy, I mean, there is precedence for somebody 6'7". There's no precedence at 6'9" that I know of. But this guy is somebody to take a look at in the 5th, 6th round, probably. But
interesting. Guys, we got a couple more calls to get through. You can get on the Cat Calls line every day, all day long, by using the phone number 252-228-5098. Go ahead and plug it in your phone so when you hear something on the radio, when you got something good about the Carolina Panthers to say, you can just call in and leave that message, 252-228-5098.
C3, Panther Nation, what up? It's your boy J-Dub.
J-Dub.
I'm a bit upset today because I've been wondering why we hadn't seen any articles on Panthers.com about Breeland. Come to find out, he failed his physical, so we will not be receiving Breeland, which really hurts because I was looking forward to seeing this new improved defense with Poe and him involved.
Agreed.
He got a foot injury in the Dominican Republic that's going to need skin grafting and probably 4 months as a minimum to heal. And he couldn't even pass the physical, so he will not be receiving Bashaud Breeland. This is a big letdown. I don't know if Seymour is going to be able to cut it for Worley. Like, they were pretty much interchangeable last year anyway, and we kind of moved away from that. I was just wondering if, since you guys are down closer, if you guys have heard anything more about it. Well, I just had to vent a little bit. Hope everybody's doing great on the off season and keep pounding.
You know, that's the last part is a good question is what now that Breeland is in the rear view is happening with the Carolina Panthers. And, you know, I think the Panthers offense is a lot closer to being good than we give it credit for. But while I think that is at the same time, I think that the defense is been our staple, but it's one of those things with an injury or that's such a unit play as a unit type thing is that Breeland could have really rounded out that defensive unit to get another long-term push potentially with Poe. So now where do you go? Some people have mentioned the name EJ Gaines. Some people have mentioned, I think this, guys, what if we, and I forgot to mention this, Torrey Smith gave a big shout out to Eric Reed today, talking about how he was a man of faith how he was a man that he would teach his kids that he teaches his kids to look up to, as well as that while he has a political opinion, it's in the right spirit, and he's nothing but a model citizen. Eric Reed, I guess, and I didn't even know to what extent he spoke out or participated in the taking a knee stuff last year, but that's a player right there. I mean, if his head is right from that Tolbert hit like 2 years ago, I'm cool with. I think that maybe you could target him. The Honey Badger is kind of taking the shine off of everything. Maybe you could get him for a relatively manageable price. Where do you guys see the Panthers going in the post-Breeland months or weeks?
You know, I'm not sure, but Eric Reed would certainly address some needs that we have in the safety position, which is just as big as the corner need, right? I mean, you've also got somebody like Bro. Is it Delvin Bro or Devin Bro?
Delvin, yeah.
Yeah, that's another guy that I'd want to take a look at. But I'd be all for bringing Reed in. And, yeah, I like what I've seen out of him. I think we've got to it. I mean, right now we've only got Mike Adams back there as safety.
That's scary.
Yeah, that's very scary. So, that's going to be addressed in free agency or the draft, or probably both.
Joey, do you think that he is being blackballed for his protest for participating in Take a Knee with Colin Kaepernick?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. You know how I feel about the whole issue. It's probably not fair, but every action has a consequence, and I'm sure he knew that this was a possibility, but I admire him for standing by his convictions. In purely football terms, he's a good player. I think he would definitely help us. I mean, my God, he would be an instant upgrade over whoever we have back there. So, yeah, definitely worth bringing him in and talking to him. Even if it's like a 1-year prove-it deal. You know what I'm saying? He's still a young guy.
Who, Eric Reed?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking this is I think it's a shame if that is truly the reason that teams are shying away from him. I can understand why San Francisco potentially moved on from someone like Colin Kaepernick, both as a player and that, just the whole thing trying to look for a new direction as a franchise. I don't necessarily think that Colin Kaepernick should be blackballed for that. I do understand that a backup quarterback, if you're not bringing him in to be the starter, then, that could be such a huge distraction and ridiculousness that could outweigh the benefits that potentially. I understand that part. Like, while unfair, while I disagree that necessarily that the world should work like that, I get that. A guy like Eric Reed, though, to me, I think it's a travesty that if that was the case. And the idea, just simply put, is if you don't like what we that seems so petty to me. To have a long-term, like, you think that's going to be problematic to your organization in the long run. I don't know if you've noticed American society, but like, we stay upset for like 2 seconds about everything. So like, the whole taking a knee mess is 100% in the rear view of like everybody as soon as the next thing comes up in life. Which it could be anything. It could be in the news. It could be a tweet it could be anything. So to me, that's just, it's like at some point you got to let J-Rod from the Charlotte Observer off the hook and say, get over it, get past it, folks. Right? That's my theory with Eric Reed. All right, keep going. We got, I think, 2 more calls.
I'm back. Mel Mayock, Tony Dunn, that friggin' Puerto Rican Joe Riolano. What's up, boys? It's Cody Lashney, your YouTube champion, calling in once more to talk to my favorite podcasters in Panther Nation. And after free agency has pretty much come and gone, there's a few irons left in the fire. We basically have a decimated backfield. We had Bashaud Breeland, and then we didn't. So what I'm wondering now is, and basically this is a question I have for the guys on the podcast and everyone in the YouTube chat, is
Watch
how
it be
much
read.
do you value a bad combine performance?
Oh.
Because someone that Tony Dunn iced up maybe a week or two back was Joshua Jackson. He had a bad performance. He ran slower than expected. He was having to restart on some drills. But when you weigh that against his game tape, the guy was a ball hawk, man. He has all the measurables. He has no off-the-field issues. And now it's a position of real need for us. I mean, we have no safeties that are starting caliber. And now we don't
if
know,
he's there at 24,
what
he's
our
under
other cornerback
consideration.
position, aside from James Bradbury, looks like. So my question for everyone is, how much do you value a bad combine performance? You know, even someone that's been the butt of jokes for the past month, Orlando Brown, the tackle out of Oklahoma. You know, you have these bad performances doing physicals in their underwear, but then you also have all this footage of them actually playing football at a high level. And I think that's something that we need to consider. And ultimately for us, it might end up being a godsend that some of these guys did have bad performances, because maybe they fall right to us at 24. But that's all I have for the show tonight, guys. Love you, boys. Keep pounding.
All right, I think that's a fantastic question, right? And I would say that it depends on the position a little bit. It depends on how bad it was and what their draft stock was at that moment. My examples being this is the Josh Jackson. To me, it makes him fall potentially to the second round. It makes him fall potentially, or makes us look at him more as somebody that's going to need some coaching up in the process, but has the opportunity to be really, really good because he's got that kind of player gene. He's got the skill. He's got the physical skill set, and the base numbers are pretty good. You might be asking, is this guy a better safety than potentially corner? I think those are questions. But me with the Brown one, I'm going to tell you this, is I wouldn't even draft that dude. And that combine is so bad. This is why, is that I feel like left tackles who look pretty good in college can look horrible in the NFL. And so just because I think this is all of a sudden, if you're going to get worked in the NFL if you're a top 10 prospect at left tackle, he's going to have to be you're thinking guard right away, I think. Mel, how do you feel about it? You love the draft process.
I do, and I don't put I tend to agree with you. It does depend on the position, and the combine is a test of measuring someone's athletic ability, and there's got to be someone you can equate them to. However, the GOAT himself had a horrible combine, right? So you can't just blanketly say,
who's the GOAT?
Oh, Tom Brady.
Julius Peppers? Julius Peppers didn't have a terrible combine.
Tom Brady looked very awkward, could barely run, looked like he was an old man ready to retire at the combine compared to everyone else. And then all he did is go out there and just light it up. And I thought he was great at Michigan. And I was wondering why he was falling the way he was. And all of a sudden, boom, 6th round, goes on to be, a stud. But like I was telling you when you were commenting on Jackson, there's no way I pass on him at 24. Unless there's somebody else that I have rated higher. Of course, somebody like, Geis or someone like that. But no way do I drop Jackson because of his performance at the combine. Now, what that combine makes me do is makes me go do more due diligence and go talk to coaches, go talk to other folks just to make sure that you're not missing something, work them out, bring them in for an individual workout and figure out what's going on. But his tape did not match what's going on there. And as Cody said, this is the underwear Olympics, and we don't get paid for underwear Olympics. If you're a football player, you're a football player. You got instincts, you got a nose for the ball that outdrives everything else. So, now, The tackle, I tend to agree with you. I mean, he's not gonna. You have to be a pretty elite athlete to play left tackle. He's probably gonna be moved to left guard.
Joey, I think I've heard the phrase or something to the effect of is that the combine, you're looking to see if it verifies your assessment based on film and what you saw on the field. Do those numbers validate what you saw, or like Mel said, raise questions about what you saw and how authentic, how does that translate? Joey, what do you place on a combine that is, how about this, is I think too there's something to distinguish between having a terrible combine and having one that wasn't as insane as you may have hoped, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. It's one thing to have a bad performance, but it's something else to be awful. And then, you got to remember, too, these guys go there and do that, and then their schools have a pro day. So they do get to do this stuff all over again at the school's pro day. And then you do have your individual meetings. You do bring in a guy that you liked on tape, were disappointed in the combine performance. You bring him in, you talk to him, you put him through private workout, just like what Mel said. And then you do go to the coaches, go see his mom, talk to his dad, his uncle, his little, his pee-wee football coach. You do that kind of stuff. But it's not the end-all, be-all. And on the flip side of it, if some guy goes and blows the door off the combine, but when you look at his tape, he takes plays off, he gets lost in his own coverage, that kind of stuff. You can't, base everything on a great combine.
Well, we'll know on March 26th, Joey. I just looked it up. Is Iowa's Pro Day, March 26th.
Okay. Well, there you go. So the Panthers, I'm sure, will have somebody there, checking on his 40 time and all that other stuff. And
Hey guys, got a little bit of breaking news here. I think it's interesting. The big nor'easter that's blowing through New York has forced Alan Hurns to reschedule his visit, and tomorrow morning he's going to be in Dallas.
Oh, whoa. All right.
Keep an eye on that.
Okay. Well, they've been kind of sleepy in this free agency. They got a lot to prepare for with that offensive line. So,
and what are they going to do with old number 88 over there?
Yeah, Dez. I don't want nothing to do with him, man.
No,
and not because of him as a person. That has a lot to do with it too.
Get rid of him and then bring in another 88 in Hurns.
Yep. He might not leave Dallas.
You're right.
All right, last call.
So I've actually been very, very thrilled with the Panthers' move so far. I think Hurney's done a great job, especially with the hard decisions to let go of longtime Panther Jonathan Stewart as well as Charles Johnson. I think those were very hard decisions. But I also think he needs to apply that same logic to Ryan Khalil. Ryan Khalil is the epitome of a great Panther. That guy, he's been with our organization for, I think, 11 years now. He's been a stalwart on our offensive line. But he's a guy that hasn't played a full season in a few years. And yet he has the fourth largest cap hit next year at $10 million. Now, Julius Peppers, we just signed back, right? And he had a great season last year at 11 sacks, very productive, far more productive than Ryan Khalil at this point. And we gave him only $5 million. So why not apply that same logic to Ryan Khalil and at least try to restructure his deal? He's 32. He has neck issues. He hasn't played a full season in a while. And at this point, I think Tyler Larson is a formidable center. He's not great. He's not outstanding, but he's formidable. Now, like I said, I hate saying this, but if we're going to be out in free agency, crying broke, oh, we can't sign this player because of this money, we can't sign this player because of our cap situation. Well, there's a great opportunity to get some more cap space by restructuring Ryan Khalil's contract. So that's my take right there. I still think we're going to go all the way next year. Keep pounding. Go Panthers. Love y'all, Panther Nation. Have a good one.
All right. First, I wish I would have caught his name, but that was a great call, and the only thing better than the call was his vocabulary. Good Lord, he dropped stalwart, formidable. Dude was laying it out there, right, in a good way. I agree a lot of points. I agree with all of the points. I thought it was a great call. I do want to point out this, and then I got to run downstairs and get something while Joey and Mel respond to this. My point is this. Two things. One, I agree 100% with Ryan Khalil restructuring his contract. Two, Julius Peppers has made $160 million in his career. Just going to let that number sit with you. $160 million in his career with this $5 million deal might be slightly different than what Khalil has made in his career. Just saying. You guys carry the conversation. I got something to show. I got to show it on the podcast.
All right. What you think, Joe?
I definitely am in favor of doing whatever the Panthers can to free up the most money they can. I don't know if the front office feels like they owe this money to Khalil for all his years of service and the fact that, he's been with the team and never,
my personal thought is if that were the case, they would have done the same with Charles Johnson, because I think they're the same guy, Charles Johnson and Ryan Khalil. They've been with the team forever. They've had their big contracts. They've been leaders. They've been captains. Mm-hmm. They've kept their noses clean. But with Ryan Khalil, I believe they really want to keep a priority on keeping Cam Newton safe, and they are optimistic that he is going to be able to play 16 games next year. And they feel like their offense is a whole lot better when he is there. So instead of trying to – and they don't want to extend him because he's planning on retiring. So, I would love to see him take a pay cut, but
you're okay with them not.
I'm okay with them not. However, what I would have optimally liked to have seen them do is Mike Pouncey just signed with the Chargers. I would have been all in favor of telling Mr. Khalil, here's your gold watch, thank you for your service, and then go and sign Pouncey for, like a 5-year deal so that you got that center position nailed down for the long term. That's where I would have tried.
Wait, what do you say? Pouncey with the Chargers? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Mike Pouncey just signed a 2-year deal with the Chargers at like $7 million a year.
That would have been so good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Guys, I wanted to show you this because he said, I still think the Panthers are going all the way. This is what kind of fan I always am. This right here is a ticket at Caesar's Palace for the Panthers to win the Super Bowl in 2018.
How much money did you put on it?
Only $25. I Venmo'd a friend who was going to Vegas the money. And I also had to buy her lunch because she said there was a $10 ATM fee. Ooh. A $10 ATM fee at Caesar's Palace. But it's 35-1. If the Panthers win the Super Bowl, I get $900.
Now, you remember our boy P. Nasty had me go down and put $200 down for him when I was living in Vegas. In 2015.
P. Nasty also has California money, which is inflated. This is like $200. This is like $200.
That's G Vegas money.
In G Vegas money, because my house is also about the same. Like I have a bigger. Like my house is way bigger than his and costs like 10 times as less. As twice as less as his. Because of that California money, man. It's funny.
Now you see why the professor gets so enamored with people that use proper English. Twice as less.
Well played, sir. Well played. I've got some, as my son would say, some verity in my language. All right. Okay, guys, let's jump into our ice up picks. I think that this is the way to go now for the rest of the show. All right, Joe. You knock it home. Oh, nope. That's not the right one. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, hold on. I'm getting it. Sorry.
Okay.
I hope you don't have mine.
No. I don't have the one you have.
He's pulling up. Joe gets prepared.
You want me to go while you're pulling it up?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought this was ready.
All right.
Well,
Here we go.
This
Hold
is
on.
not
I
the
gotta
one.
change.
No,
Go
this
ahead.
is not the one. This is not the one I sent you.
Oh, no.
I just found one that was better.
Oh, no. You're taking mine. I'm ready.
All right. Well, you go, and then if I forgot yours, then we'll go back to my original.
All right. Oh, boy. You know, I'm an ECU fan.
Yeah, you got mine. All right. You got mine.
Same one?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, man.
Go for it, Joe. Go for it.
You have seniority, brother.
All right. Buffalo Bills wide receiver Zay Jones was arrested.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
He got into a struggle with his brother, who's also in the NFL, that ended in a bloody mess with Zay Jones in handcuffs.
And naked.
Oh, you didn't look. I was building to that, Mel. Hey, Mel. Oh my God! I can't believe Mel.
You stole my whole thing, so that makes
my story. Oh my God! Oh, anyway,
we're going streaking.
Now that the cat has the bag, TMZ has video of this fight. They busted a window out while they were fighting naked, and this was in a penthouse in an LA apartment, or an apartment in downtown LA. He smashed his foot through a window. So he was taken to LA County Jail and is still there right now. I guess they're getting ready to, bring him up on charges or whatever. But this just broke about 9 o'clock tonight. So our boy, the guys in the NFL, you think year after year, you think they learn and they get smarter, but it never fails. Somebody just pulls a complete and total idiot move. And in this case, he got in a fight with his brother. And while they were naked, what was going on there?
All right, so a couple of things I got to say about this is Zay Jones, first of all, is known as a super clean cut, recruit player.
Somebody slipped something in his drink or something.
All right, then here is this. I just searched it on Twitter. And this is what Robert Littal, Littal, and he is BSO. Is that Black Sports? Some BSO, at BSO. And he said this. He tweeted, Bill Zay Jones showed up at his brother's girlfriend apartment butt naked and kicked down the door talking about God's plan. Please test him for every drug possible so we can get it off the street. The idea is, all right, so first, I don't trust any naked fights because the idea is that, you don't get naked to fight.
You were naked and
got
Yeah, you were naked.
Have you guys ever been to NC State on a Friday night?
Here we go.
Oh, God. I knew there was a reason I haven't been. And so you were, like Joey said, naked and then got in a fight. What I'm thinking, is this like somebody sleeping with somebody's girlfriend? I mean, you ain't running the you-know-what with brotherly. That's some brotherly love right there if I've ever heard of it.
However, you got to let this story play out because they also said that he was trying to jump off a 30th floor, and he was being restrained from jumping.
Oh, I bet you. I wonder if he smoked that fake weed that makes you all crazy.
That's spice. It's called spice.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I was getting ready to say because Mel, they said this. We're told at some point he ran out of the apartment entered a public balcony area and smashed his foot through a window.
Now, you know, Bashaud Breeland is somewhere going, daggum, man. All I did was hang out at a golf course.
Right, and listen.
My foot's falling off. Yeah. My foot's falling off from playing golf, and this kid's dropping acid and kicking windows and getting clapped about.
They said that after he kicked the hole in the window, he actually tried to squeeze through the hole.
Yeah.
So he's on something. Yep, he smoked that spice. That's what it is.
Yeah, I bet that's exactly what it
He
was.
ate a Tide Pod, dude.
Oh, man.
Wow.
So when you're rolling down the hall in an LA penthouse suite with your brother butt naked,
tripping acid together. Yeah, I mean he's like on some peyote. We got to tell him ice up.
Ice up, son.
All right, Mel, you're up.
Now we'll go back to the old people.
Hold on. In his case, spice up, son.
Spice down. Spice down.
Yeah. Now we'll go back to my original sense.
All
Joe,
right, here we go.
But very well done, Joe.
All right.
But sticking in the vein of being incredibly stupid and not being able to fix stupid, for those of you listening to us on iTunes or Stitcher and you can't see this, you need to go to YouTube and pull this up. Tony, are you going to?
Yep, it's playing right now. It's playing right now.
All right, so this was done in a foreign language going on, so I can't understand what is going on, but it was so worthwhile. Had to put it on the show. This guy has a gun, and you talk about needing gun control. This guy has a rifle that he's got turned around, and he's walking around in ankle-deep water.
Looks like he's trying to chase a snake out or something, but I read that he was trying to knock a fish out or something.
Yeah, he's trying to catch a fish by clubbing it with the
butt of the rifle.
With the butt, yeah, the stock.
So all of a sudden, the dude slams down on the fish. I think he got the fish, which is the good news. But the bad news is the collision with the butt of the rifle and the fish caused the gun to go off and shot the guy in his, as they call it, in his junk. So you got to go see this because you really can't fix stupid, and that was incredibly stupid. If I didn't know better, I would have thought this was happening in Gastonia. I mean, it was just
from Mark.
From Mark in Gastonia.
Right, Mark.
That's right. So
I think ice up is that. You think you're going to get bit by a snake doing something, and then you're an idiot enough to just shoot yourself. And I don't know about what the resale value on your junk is or what insurance is, but I'm pretty sure that you totaled your junk when you shot it. That junk's ruined. All right, my ice up pick of the week goes to someone that I actually thought I was done arguing with. And that would be Nathan Conley. Nathan Conley was particularly, well, first of all, he's been, I would like to say this, is that he's been on this podcast before. And cordially, like we were cordial with him. I was trying to, once again, I try to be nice to people. And what do? They act like jerks. He was a jerk on the radio. And he just, I'm going to tell you this, go look at his Twitter feed. If you argue with that many people that long, like he's been arguing with like 40 people over the last 24 hours. At some point, we're finding the common thread here. And it's you. So, Nathan Conley was railing on the Carolina Panthers management as not doing anything to help Cam Newton. Never doing anything to help Cam Newton. Something that I think all of us think is truly a valid point. We got no problem with him saying that. But the reason that he was railing so much was because we did not land Paul Richardson, or as he originally typed, Paul Titchardson. And I said, who is this Paul Titchardson you speak of? But I tweeted in, as you can see, this is that I tweeted him. I said, look, Paul Richardson is Philly Brown with a little cachet. He's Philly Brown with some name recognition right now. And his response was this. It was a retweet. And by the way, unless you are retweeting and celebrating someone's tweet, like, you guys got to check out this, thumbs down, this is like, I agree. Whatever you're doing is demeaning by nature. That's what you are. It's a passive-aggressive move, folks, to say, look at this idiot. Well, he didn't just go passive-aggressive. He went straight aggressive, and he just typed moron. So then I was feeling frisky. So I said, well, basically I said, why do you have to be a dick? Like, why is that where you go with this? Right? And so he then goes to this, which is fine. He goes and says this is, I can't even read it now. What did he say? Oh, he was arguing with Shane Barbie, who is a friend of Joey's, a friend of mine. We know Shane. We've hung out with him. We tailgate him with him. And he said then in this thread, his next response to Paul Richardson is Philly Brown. He said, if the Panthers had signed Paul Richardson, you'd be pumping him up like you were his agent. Now, I don't know, Joe, but I think I've been pretty consistent that I didn't think Paul Richardson was all that. I'm pretty sure I said that. But I'm pretty sure I also won this Twitter battle, like, hands down. Because I said, nah, I'll let you pump it for him. That was my response, right? And then he keeps going, and he says they passed on receivers much better than the ones they got. That's a fact. I think this is a whataboutism. I think this is, well, you're trying to tell me that now that Paul Richardson is only so good, well, what about these other guys like Allen Robinson? Hey, all for it, but it didn't, that's not what we're talking about. And I said to stay on message here is what we kept going back and forth. And then I told him that Paul Richardson was fool's gold, making him a fool. And then he said, here is the final capstone to this. And there's a reason Richardson signed a multi-year contract, and the two Panthers settled for were either cut or about to be released from their previous teams. So the scouting report from Nathan Conley is that because Richardson got a 2-year deal, your facts about him being mediocre at best, had a 700-yard season, best of his career. He was the second on the team in drops, 5th in the league in drops. I watched the tape. I watched all the games from 2017, and he was good, but not blow your socks off good. And I said, all right, here's where I won, I think. Is like, you're right. I'm convinced. Because the Redskins signed him to a $9 million deal without a GM, and they're an organization that has a completely clean and awesome record in player recruitment, player development, and in contract negotiations. And that trumps everything. I'm sold. Paul Richardson is the man. Our season sucks because we didn't get him. So Nathan Conley, I gotta tell you, bro, like, at some point, you have to realize, like, you don't have to be a dick just to be one. Like, people want to talk football. People still somewhat think that, well, we thought you were somewhat of we cared to talk with you. But when you just call people moron, when you just call people idiots, you did it on the radio, now you're doing it on social media all day, it's just, like, not cool. And you're a dick. So I also say you can go and smoke some spice and kick a window. Ice up. All right.
Ice up.
All right. Yeah. Guys, this is the C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. We cut some people off at the knees sometimes too when they come at us. And you can always come at me at cat_chronicles if you want to talk Panthers football and have some fun doing it. Joe Riolano, where can they hit you up?
You cannot come at me No, I know.
And Mel, where can they find you?
Find me at Panthers Drafter on Twitter anytime, and got a new Draft Tech mock draft coming out every Wednesday. Tomorrow's brand new picks, brand new write-ups. Check it out.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share. We got to get to 1,000, folks. That's our goal. And guess what? The Panthers, we're with them, ride or die, and they're going to be better than you think. There's more talent on this team than you think. A couple of good pieces away. You're going to see it happen. And when all else fails, Cam Newton is still the best. See you next week.
Keep pounding.